So I'm recording this about a day or so removed from replying to a video talking about somebody's quote-unquote gender-critical ideas. And interestingly enough, they are currently listed as subscribed to me and apparently haven't watched any of my videos, and I'll get to that in a second. But my response isn't really so much the issue as the elements that came out of his response in return, because he said that he'd love to discuss these things with a actual trans woman. Apparently, he hasn't watched any of my videos. He might be able to figure out that he already was having this discussion with one, but yeah. And there's sort of this recurring theme that I notice with this exact sort of thing. People who want to have a discussion about minority issues, and I'm going to focus on LGBT issues because, well, that's kind of where I have personal investiture. I can't really speak for black people or other groups, but on the LGBT issues, yeah, kind of qualified there. And it's interesting because I keep hearing these people who would like to have a discussion or want to start a discussion who are completely unwilling to listen and usually go in with preconceived notions. This guy said something to the effect of feminism is inherently undermined by transgender individuals. So this is very similar to a comment that I've addressed a couple of times on this channel because it keeps popping up, this notion that trans people inherently reinforce gender roles and gender stereotypes, which led me to make videos asking two questions. I think I did this a couple of times actually. But what the hell do you think transgender means, being one of them, and the other one being, well, what gender roles and stereotypes am I reinforcing? Because I'm a little out of the loop on this apparently. Now, I'm not really interested in revisiting the whole transgender feminism argument yet again. This is more about the whole concept of, I want to have a discussion on this issue. And then people who utterly refuse to listen to the minority groups in question. In all the cases that I've referenced so far, it deals specifically with trans people and people who have been rather unwilling to actually listen to or discuss with trans people. And if you go in with definitive statements like that, and apparently from this guy's comment, the one where he said that he'd like to discuss this, he apparently doesn't understand these things. So he went in with a predefined idea and then admitted that he didn't understand and that he needed somebody who was trans to educate him, essentially. And that's not really our responsibility. But also, you probably shouldn't be going in clueless and with predefined ideas. If you've already formed thoughts and you don't know what you're talking about, what are you basing that on? Well, in this most recent case, you basically have somebody who is arguing from the gender critical, God, I hate that term. You might as well just say race realism, because it's the same thing. But this so-called gender critical position, without actually having bothered to know what you're talking about, to learn things about the condition in this case and the people involved, the people who are directly affected by this sort of quote-unquote debate, the people who are harmed and killed by this sort of quote-unquote debate. And that's kind of a big deal here. It's borderline how conspiracy theories start too, because, I mean, this is the same logic where people wholeheartedly accept that fire can't melt steel beams without bothering to talk to people like structural engineers or anyone with any sort of relevant scientific background. I don't have time to list off a full catalog of conspiracy debunkers, but yeah. And you see, here's the thing. I actually don't mind answering questions. I don't mind having these conversations or discussions with people. I don't mind talking about these experiences. I do that a lot. I've done that on this channel in the past, especially when I had an open comments section. What I do mind is when people do go in with these preformed ideas and dictate the conversation to the minority group in question. And I've seen this happen with other people before, with other minority groups before. But again, I try and stick to my own sort of sphere of experience because I can't speak for them. Saying you want to have a discussion or start a conversation only works if you're willing to listen and learn. And demanding or asking that people educate you, which I still maintain is not their responsibility, but doing so and then refusing to listen to the education that they're handing you is a waste of time, frustrating, and part of the reason that a lot of minority groups are so hostile when people start just asking questions. If you're sincere about learning, that's fucking great. If you go in to question people with good faith motives, acting in a way that doesn't sound like you're demanding or dictating to people, and you demonstrate that you're listening and or learning, awesome. But almost 100% of the time when I deal with people who want to start a discussion or start a conversation or whatever other buzzwords you might want to use, it ends up being somebody who doesn't know what they're talking about, who wants to dictate, who wants to talk over, tell us our experiences, tell us our issues, and then get offended when we dare to disagree because, you know, how dare we know our own lives and or experiences. The very nerve. How dare we know what we're talking about? This is one of the reasons that we get guarded and hostile, because we're used to being dicked around and having our time wasted by people who basically sea lion. And if you're gonna waste our time, then don't be surprised if, you know, we don't act all sunshine and peaches. Thanks for listening. Amaranth out.